After a few months away, the GP4OC News returns for a remarkable 8th series, and as you may have noticed if you didn't watch the last episode of Series 7, the GP4OC News has a brand new look and brand new music to mark the fact that the 2021 season will be the first season of the fantasy era. Before we get on with the news, let's look at some of the features of this new layout. Unlike in previous seasons, the Drivers and Constructors Championships for the top class will both appear at the same time instead of them appearing in different transitions, and on top of that, all the drivers and teams in both championships will appear instead of just the top 10. We have a brand new feature in the OC News which shows what seats are still yet to be confirmed. On the right of your screens you will see a black box which has all the 11 teams for the 2021 season, along with the drivers that have been confirmed for those seats, along with the seats that are still yet to be confirmed. This has been included to inform the viewer which seats are yet to be announced. A driver will appear on it once they have been announced. On top of that, you may have noticed that there isn't a scroll on the bottom anymore. This is particularly a benefit for me, as getting a working scroll on Premiere Pro was a huge nightmare for me, so it has been removed and it should hopefully take less time to edit these videos. Finally, the white box which shows the news headlines is slightly changed. Unlike in previous seasons when the news bulletins came up straight away, they will only appear now when a driver has been announced. This has been done to add anticipation and also increase the watch time. Cheeky, I know. And that's the new features. So now that you know what each feature does, let's take a look at what we know already, along with the anticipated rumours that have dominated the paddock. The first one we know, of course, is that 2021 will be the first season of the highly anticipated fantasy era. This means that the OC will no longer follow what happens in the real-life Formula 1 season, and it will instead carve its own path. This will mean that there will be a good chance that the pecking order could shake up throughout each season, which will add an extra element of uncertainty during each sign-ups, with the drivers not knowing which teams will be fighting at the front, which teams will be fighting in the midfield, and which teams will be fighting towards the back. It also means that there could be a good chance some teams could pull out and be replaced or even get taken over. Speaking of which, as we have known for a while, MANOR will be pulling out of GP4OC at the end of the season after 11 seasons in the sport. After so much speculation, it was announced on a Sunday before the French Grand Prix that Italian car manufacturer Lamborghini will make their GP4OC debut in 2021, replacing the outgoing MANOR. This came as a surprise to a lot of people, as when people were making their predictions on who the 11th team would be, not many said Lamborghini. People were suggesting manufacturers such as Porsche, Ford, Toyota, BMW and even Subaru, due to the fact that host Yuri's everyday car happens to be a Subaru. But in the end it turned out to be Lamborghini, and along with forming a new team they'll also be using their own engine, meaning that in 2021 there'll be 5 engine manufacturers: Mercedes, Honda, Ferrari, Renault and now Lamborghini. They'll be the only team to use the Lamborghini engine in 2021, however they haven't ruled out supplying to other teams in the future. Speaking of engines, because we will be going into the fantasy era, it means that teams don't have to follow what they did in real life. One of these examples is McLaren, as unlike in real life where they switched to Mercedes engines, the working base team will continue to use Renault engines in 2021. The other example involves Renault, as unlike in real life where the team rebranded as Alpine, in 2021 the team will still be known as Renault for as long as they want. The only change from the real life 2021 season that will happen in 2021 is the name of Racing Point. Just like in real life, the team will be rebranded as Aston Martin, as a result of Lawrence Stroll buying a stake in the car company. And just like in real life, they will not rebrand their engines as BWT Mercedes, instead it will just be Mercedes. The penultimate thing that we know about is the fact that for the first time in GP4OC history, all 11 teams will be having a car launch during the off-season. At the end of the sign-up video, along with the announcement of the car launches, it was also revealed who the livery editing team was for the fantasy era. These people being Joseph Willows, Evan Byrne, Ennis Paratsky and Barbara Maffesoni. Barbara, for anyone who is unfamiliar with her, is the real-life girlfriend of Bruno de Barros, and she does a lot of graphic and livery design for other games such as R Factor. You can find some of her work in the description down below once this video gets uploaded. Yuri Marta will also be a backup for livery editing in case he is needed. In terms of which teams each designer will be working on, that will be left a secret until the car launches, as their name will be credited in the description of each car launch. It should also be noted that the livery Lamborghini had in the 11th team reveal will not be the final livery. The actual livery will be revealed in the off-season. It is very exciting times for the OC, and we cannot wait for you to see the 2021 liveries during the off-season. The final thing that we know about is the provisional calendar that got revealed this past Sunday. There will once again be 21 races on the calendar, with the races happening in 2020 still being on the calendar for 2021. The most notable changes are the fact that Baku has been moved forward to round 3, Suzuka has been moved forward to round 14, and the biggest one being that the Bahrain Grand Prix has been pushed back to round 19 in order to have a back-to-back with Abu Dhabi. Brazil remains as the finale despite the fact that the 2021 season will mark the first season that their veto right to be the finale will be invalid. On top of that as well, the Mexican Grand Prix name will return for the race at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez after the 2020 race will be known as the Mexico City Grand Prix. Some people will probably be a bit disappointed that there aren't any new or returning tracks that have been added onto the calendar. They could still be given the fact the calendar is only provisional, however Yuri hasn't ruled out having changes in the future. So they are all the things we know so far, so with that out of the way, let's look at some of the rumours that have dominated the paddock. For starters, we will go through this season's pick order. The pick order is on your screen right now, and the eligibility of everyone's picks, as per usual, will be based on this. Lamborghini has the most number 1 picks with 11, followed by Williams who have 9. Haas are 3rd with 8, with McLaren surprisingly high up in 4th with 6. There is a 4-way tie for 5th between AlphaTauri, Ferrari, Aston Martin and Renault, with those 4 teams having 5. The order of those 4 was determined by the number of overall picks each team got. Alfa Romeo surprisingly placed pretty low down in 9th with 4, with Red Bull in 10th with 3, and Mercedes in last with 2. So now we are going to go through each team, and unlike in previous seasons, we are going to go through them based on the pick order. Starting off with the brand new team Lamborghini. This team has been very interesting during the silly season given the fact that they are a new team. Before the silly season began, a lot of people thought that Franco Gamba and Emilia Wilson would be the early favourites for the Lamborghini seats. However, the pair of them have chosen different teams as their number 1 choice, so it's highly unlikely those two will be at the team. One driver who is rumoured to join Lamborghini is current Ferrari driver Laura Chung, as she has put Ferrari's Italian rivals as her number 1 choice. Laura has made her ambitions clear that she wants a new challenge, and Lamborghini could be that destination. Along with Laura, there are a number of drivers who could be there, such as GP2 drivers Mohammed Usman Ahmed and Rahul Patel, Formula E Championship contenders Durebush Daniel, Xavier Wei and Robert Ionescu, to even MANOR driver Rosetta Martinez. Though like with Laura Chung, it is thought that his performances may need to pick up. Benz Waldinger has also been mentioned, but like with Rosetta in the top class, he will need to pick up his performances in GP2. It will be interesting to see who Lamborghini chooses for their first lineup. Moving on to Williams, and it is looking highly likely that they will retain their current lineup of Felix Sontag and Jamie Griffiths, given the pair are currently doing a good job for the team, both of them having the same ambition of trying to turn Williams around. However, it should be noted that if one of them drops off, don't be surprised if the likes of Luca Farina, Adam Chobar and even current test driver Joseph Frederick Suto pitch their 2 cents in. Next up we have Haas, and one thing we do know for certain with this team is that they will have at least one change in their lineup, as 2017 BTCC and 2019 GP2 champion Dudu Kirby will be retiring from the OC as a whole at the end of this current season. According to his brother JP, Dudu is believed to have fell out of love with this series and has taken the decision to retire to give other people a chance to be in the top class. For everybody at GP4OC, we wish Dudu all the very best in the future. In terms of who will replace him, there are rumours flying around that current MANOR driver Emilia Wilson could end up replacing him, given that she has put Haas as her number 1 choice. Emilia has had a very good rookie season despite this year's MANOR not being that good. It was originally thought she would put Lamborghini as her first choice, however in the end she went with Haas. Other rumours include Formula E Championship leader Agatina Pavona, current GP2 driver Luca Farina should he miss out on Williams, former Haas driver and current Ferrari test driver Bartosz Kloss, and even current Haas test driver and former Haas driver at the same time, Jared Fosbury. Daniel Fraser is rumoured to remain at the team, but he could get booted out if his performances keep dropping, but we will have to wait and see. Moving on to McLaren, and there is a good chance that they could end up retaining their lineup of Kirishima DeRosa and Joseph Willows. However, given his shaky season so far, if Willows' performance starts to dip again, then don't be surprised if current GP2 Championship contender Hoang Minh Nguyen and even current McLaren test driver Hento Sinonome try and nab the seat away from him. Moving on to AlphaTauri, and this one is very interesting. This team could still end up retaining Chris Chatfield and David Kupok, however one of them could still be booted out as a result of a shocking rumour that came towards the back end of the sign-off. The driver I'm on about is current Red Bull driver and 2009 world champion Miklos Gal. Yep, you are not hearing things. There is a good chance that Miklos could be heading back to Red Bull's sister team, which he last drove for in 2008 when they were known as Toro Rosso, where he got his first ever win in what would be considered by many as a bizarre move. Miklos stated that his reasoning for putting them as his number one choice is that given that AlphaTauri is essentially acting like a sister team rather than a junior team, he believes that he could try and help the team steer in the right direction to the point where they will end up being ahead of Red Bull again like they were back in 2008 and maybe challenge one day for greater things. As a result of this, both Chris Chatfield and David Kupak may need to watch their backs. Sticking with Italy, we move on to Ferrari, who have gone backwards this season. Laura Chong, as stated earlier, could leave the team at the end of the season due to her putting Lamborghini as her number one choice. However, she could still be at Ferrari should her number one choice fall through. However, even if she does miss out on a Lamborghini drive, she could still end up losing out on Ferrari, as it is rumoured that current Renault driver and Chinese Grand Prix winner Jake Galloway could end up making the move to the prancing horse, given that he has put Ferrari as his number one choice and the fact that he has had an amazing rookie season at Renault. Roberto Gamba, meanwhile, is looking highly likely to remain at Ferrari for another season after what has been a brilliant comeback to the top class for the Italian. However, it is worth noting that should Roberto for whatever reason drop his performances in the second half of the season, then don't be surprised if Chris Chatfield becomes a contender for Ferrari given the situation at AlphaTauri and the fact that he has the prancing horse as his number two choice. Moving on to the rebranded Aston Martin, and this could be very interesting. Roland Motrin is looking highly likely to remain at the team for another season. However, it is looking highly likely that five-time race winner George Rowe could be leaving the team at the end of the season due to him putting another team as his number one choice that is lower than Aston Martin in the pick order. More on that later. In terms of who might replace him, it could end up being a straight fight between current DTM Championship contender Julius Anderson and current GP2 Championship leader Aaron Curtis. Both of them are currently having a good season, and it will be very interesting to see who ends up getting the Aston Martin seat. Moving on to Renault, not Alpine, and as expected, Evan Byrne is highly likely to remain at the team for what would be a fifth successive season. However, as we have established earlier, Jake Galloway could leave the team at the end of the season due to the fact that he has Ferrari as his number one choice. He does have Renault as his number two choice, however if he ends up at Ferrari, then like with Aston Martin, there could be a straight up fight. This time involving current DTM Championship leader Romain Quagg, who is determined to get back in the top class, and current Renault test driver, current GP2 Championship contender and 2019 BTCC champion Jesus Perinen. Both of them also have another team as a backup should they miss out, but it will be very interesting to see who ends up getting the Renault seat should Jake go to Ferrari. Next up we have Alfa Romeo, and this team has a very long list of contenders. Andre Verderi is likely to remain at the team for another season, however Gabriel Gomez is a bit of a question mark for the second successive season given the Brazilian is having another tricky season. If Gabriel ends up getting the chop, then there are, as mentioned, a lot of contenders who could take the seat. These include Romain Quagg and Jesus Perinen should they miss out on Renault, Hoang Min Nguyen should he miss out on McLaren, current GP2 Championship leader Aaron Curtis should he miss out on Aston Martin, current AlphaTauri driver David Kupak should he miss out on the AlphaTauri drive, Formula E Championship leader Agatina Bavona, and GP2 drivers Ruslan Proxiu, Mohamed Usman Hamid and Rahul Patel. This one, like in previous seasons, will be interesting and one that could go either way. The penultimate team we will look at today is Red Bull, and this one, as we have touched on earlier, could also see a shake-up given that Miklos Gal has put AlphaTauri as his number one choice. However, despite that, it might not even matter, as the current Red Bull drivers may be fighting for one of those seats, as it is rumoured that a certain driver could be booting one of them out. That driver being current Racing Point driver George Rowe, who is determined to get back at the top team for 2021. If he ends up going to Red Bull for 2021, it would be the first time since 2006 that Rowe would drive for the Milton Keynes based team. In terms of Franco Gamba, as we have touched on briefly, his fate at Red Bull mainly rests on Miklos Gal going to AlphaTauri, as if the Hungarian doesn't end up at AlphaTauri, then he could get retained by Red Bull, given he's put them as his number two choice. And given Franco's up and down season, it could leave him out of a drive, but we will have to wait and see. Finally, we move on to Mercedes, and no surprise to anyone, it is looking highly likely that they will retain their lineup of Franco Lopez and Amar Kar for another season. If they get retained, then some of the questions that people will be asking will be, will the pair keep it tidy this time given their recent collisions, and will Mercedes still be fighting at the front in 2021 given it will be the first season of the fantasy era? It will be fascinating to see what the pecking order will look like in the first season of the fantasy era. And they are all the rumours that have dominated the paddock. And with that, that concludes the pilot episode for the GP4OC News Series 8. The first team news of the season will break at the Hungarian Grand Prix next week. Who will be the first to be announced? Tune in to practice next Tuesday at the Hungaroring in Budapest.